I thought love was something you protect by working harder. I was wrong. My name is Nathan Cross, and this is the story of how my marriage died, and how I learned that sometimes the person you'd take a bullet for is the one holding the gun. Growing up, I watched my father destroy himself for our family. 70-hour weeks at the plant, overtime every weekend, calloused hands that never stopped moving. He never said, "I love you," but he didn't need to. His love lived in mortgage payments, grocery money, the college fund he built one overtime shift at a time. When he died of a heart attack at 59, my mother whispered at his funeral, "He gave us everything." That's what I thought love looked like. Action, not words. Sacrifice, not romance. When I met Melissa Porter at a downtown coffee shop, I knew exactly how to win her. She was 24, fresh out of college, working reception at a dental office, blonde hair, green eyes, and a smile that could make you forget your own name. I was 28, 3 years into my career as a financial analyst, finally making decent money. Our first date lasted 6 hours. We talked about everything: her dreams of traveling Europe, my plans to buy a house, her love of cooking, my terrible attempts at guitar. She laughed at jokes that weren't even funny. When I walked her to her car, she stood on her toes and kissed me like she'd been waiting her whole life to do it. "You're different," she whispered against my lips. "Different how?" I asked. "Safe, like you'd never hurt me," she replied softly. The early years felt like a fairy tale. We traveled to Napa Valley, cooked elaborate dinners together, spent Sunday mornings in bed planning our future. She wanted kids, 2 boys and a girl. I wanted whatever made her happy. When I proposed on a beach in Santa Monica, she cried so hard she couldn't speak for 5 minutes. "Yes," she finally whispered. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes!" We married in her hometown church with 200 guests and honeymooned in Italy. For the first 3 years, marriage felt like winning the lottery every day. Then she quit her job. "I want to focus on home," she announced over breakfast one Tuesday morning. "Make this place perfect for us." I supported her decision completely. We could afford it, and I believed in traditional roles anyway. But something shifted after that. Melissa's energy, once directed toward us, began narrowing to just herself. The gym became her second home. 2-hour sessions every morning. Her phone, once casually forgotten on counters, became permanently attached to her hand. Social media transformed from casual scrolling to obsessive posting. The cooking stopped first. Then the greeting at the door. Conversations became one-word responses while she scrolled Instagram. Nights grew quiet except for constant notification buzzing. "You're always on that thing," I said one evening. She looked up, irritated. "I'm building my brand, Nathan. Some people have ambitions beyond a 9-to-5, she snapped back. The words stung, but I pushed down the hurt. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was boring. So I worked longer hours, bought her expensive workout clothes, planned surprise dinners she'd barely touch. The physical distance grew too. Kisses became pecks. Hand-holding stopped. When I tried to initiate affection, she'd sigh like I was interrupting something important. "Not tonight, Nathan. I'm exhausted," she'd always say. Her sister Rachel started coming around more often. Rachel had always been the wild one. Divorced twice by 30, always chasing the next adventure. They'd giggle over wine like teenagers, whispering about things that made them both light up in ways I hadn't seen from Melissa in months. "Rachel thinks I should try modeling," she announced one night. "She knows a photographer." "That sounds great, honey," I replied, though it didn't sound great at all. The guilt whispered constantly. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was too boring, too predictable, too focused on responsibility. Maybe she needed space to find herself. So I stayed patient. I stayed loyal. I stayed blind. But deep down, under all the rationalization and desperate hope, I felt it. A cold certainty growing in my gut. Something was happening. Something that would change everything. I just refused to see it. Not yet. That night, her phone buzzed on the counter, and with one glance, my entire world tilted. The message was simple. 7 words that burned themselves into my retina. Can't wait for next week. Unknown number. No name. Just that smirking emoji that somehow conveyed everything I didn't want to know. I stared at the screen for maybe 10 seconds, my coffee growing cold in my hand. Melissa was upstairs in the shower, singing some pop song I didn't recognize. The sound that used to make me smile now felt like nails on glass. Every man knows that feeling, the gut-level recognition that something is fundamentally wrong. It's not logical, it's not evidence-based, it's primal, like an animal sensing a predator. My chest tightened. My hands started shaking. I didn't unlock her phone. I didn't need to. That single preview told me everything. The unknown number meant secrecy. The anticipation meant planning. The emoji meant intimacy I wasn't part of. I set the phone down carefully and walked to the window. Our backyard looked exactly the same, but everything felt different, like I was seeing it through someone else's eyes. How long had this been going on? "Morning, babe!" she called out cheerfully. Melissa bounced into the kitchen like she'd won the lottery. Hair still damp, workout clothes already on, phone immediately in her hand. She kissed my cheek, a gesture so routine it felt choreographed. "You seem happy," I managed to say. "Rachel and I are planning the most amazing girls' trip," she exclaimed, her voice carrying excitement I hadn't heard in months. "Miami, baby, sun, beach, cocktails, I need this so bad." She was glowing, actually glowing. Her eyes bright, her smile genuine, her energy electric. For her. "When?" I asked carefully. "Next week. Is that okay? I know it's short notice, but Rachel found this incredible deal and we both need to get away from routine," she explained, saying the word routine like it was a disease. She spoke as if our marriage was something she needed vacation from. "Sure," I heard myself say. "Sounds great." The lie came so easily I surprised myself, but watching her face light up even brighter felt like swallowing glass. "You're the best!" she exclaimed, kissing me again while already distracted by her phone. "Rachel's sending me hotel options! This is going to be epic!" Miami. Next week. Can't wait for next week. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. After she left for the gym, I sat alone in our kitchen and let the fury build. Not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, calculating kind that turns men into planners. I thought about everything differently now. The late-night texting sessions she claimed were work friends. The sudden interest in expensive lingerie I never saw, the way she'd started doing her makeup for grocery store runs. The phone calls she'd take in another room, voice dropping to whispers. Her gym obsession made perfect sense now, too. All those hours working out with personal trainers. The glow she'd come home with after intense sessions. The new vocabulary about fitness and nutrition that seemed borrowed from someone else's mouth. My father once told me, "Son, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." Melissa had been showing me for months. I'd just been too loyal, too trusting, too stupid to see it. That evening, I sat in my home office and made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to confront her with suspicions. I wasn't going to demand explanations she'd just lie about anyway. I was going to get proof. Victor Ramirez met me at a diner 40 minutes outside town. Mid-50s, gray hair, tired eyes that had seen too much human ugliness. He ordered black coffee and took notes on a legal pad. "What makes you think she's cheating?" he asked directly. I told him about the text, the behavior changes, the Miami trip. He listened without judgment. "You want surveillance during this trip?" he inquired. "I want everything," I said firmly. "Photos, videos, financial records. I want proof that will hold up in court." "That's expensive," he warned. "I don't care what it costs," I replied without hesitation. We shook hands. I paid the retainer in cash. By that evening, Victor had news, and none of it involved Miami. The goodbye at the airport was almost sweet. Melissa kissed me longer than usual, held me tighter, whispered how much she'd miss me. For a moment, I almost believed it was real. Almost convinced myself I was wrong about everything. "Have fun in Miami," I said softly. "I will. I love you, Nathan," she replied, looking into my eyes. The words should have meant something. Instead, they felt like coins on a dead man's eyes. I watched her walk through security with Rachel, wheeling her pink suitcase and chatting excitedly, two sisters heading off on the adventure of a lifetime, or so I thought. Victor called 3 hours later. "She didn't go to Miami," he said without preamble. I was sitting in my office, pretending to work while my world held its breath. "Where did she go?" I asked, though I dreaded the answer. "Vegas. Southwest Flight 247. Landed at McCarran 40 minutes ago," he reported. My coffee mug shattered against the floor. I didn't remember throwing it. "Are you sure?" I asked desperately. "I'm looking at the passenger manifest right now. Melissa Cross, Rachel Porter, and—" He paused. "This is where it gets interesting. They're sitting on either side of Damian Torres." "Who the hell is Damian Torres?" I demanded. "Personal trainer at Elite Fitness, 26 years old, drives a BMW his salary can't afford," Victor explained, his voice carrying no emotion, just facts. All 3 tickets were purchased on the same credit card. All 3 checked into the Bellagio. Same suite. The room spun. I gripped my desk so hard my knuckles went white. "Send me everything," I said through gritted teeth. The first photos arrived 20 minutes later. Melissa and Rachel at the airport, laughing with a tall, muscled man with perfect teeth and designer everything, him carrying their bags, them hanging on his arms like decorations. The second batch showed them at a poolside bar, Melissa's hand on his chest, his arm around her waist, Rachel feeding him olives like some twisted wine commercial. But it was the third set that broke something inside me. All 3 of them entering the hotel suite together. Timestamp, 6:47 p.m. Melissa looking back over her shoulder at the camera with an expression I'd never seen before, pure, uninhibited desire. For him. Never for me. I only watched the video once. Melissa kissing him against the door while Rachel watched and smiled. Rachel's hands joining theirs. The 3 of them moving toward the bedroom like they'd choreographed it. Once was enough to bury whatever love was left. I called Colin immediately. Rachel's husband answered on the second ring, voice bright and unsuspecting. "Nathan, what's up, buddy?" "You need to come over, now," I said grimly. "Everything okay?" he asked, concern creeping into his voice. "No, nothing is okay. How fast can you get here?" I replied. Colin arrived 30 minutes later, still in his work clothes, worry written across his face. We'd never been particularly close, just brothers-in-law thrown together by marriage. He was a good man, decent, the kind who coached Little League and never missed a school play. He didn't deserve this any more than I did. "What's going on?" he asked nervously, settling onto my couch. I handed him my laptop without a word. Colin's face went through every stage of grief in 60 seconds. Confusion, denial, bargaining, anger. Finally, a hollow acceptance that made him look 20 years older. "How long?" he whispered. "I don't know. Weeks, maybe months," I answered honestly. He watched the airport photos again, zooming in on Rachel's face like he might find some explanation there. "They told us Miami," he said numbly. "They lied about everything," I confirmed. Colin closed the laptop carefully. "My kids, they're at my mom's this weekend. They were so excited about Mommy's trip with Aunt Melissa." The pain in his voice hit me harder than my own betrayal. At least I just had myself to protect. Colin had 2 little boys who still believed their mother hung the moon. "What do we do?" he asked helplessly. That's when I felt it. The transformation from devastated husband to something harder. Something focused and deliberate and completely without mercy. "We protect ourselves," I said firmly. I showed Colin everything Victor had sent. The videos from days 2 and 3 pushed us past heartbreak into something darker. Damien kissing both sisters, Rachel encouraging Melissa. And finally, the three of them together in the suite. Undeniable, time-stamped evidence. Colin broke down completely when he saw his wife's face in those final moments. The joy there, the freedom, the complete absence of guilt or shame. I didn't comfort him. I poured 2 glasses of whiskey and slid one across the table. "From here on out, we're not just husbands anymore," I declared. Colin raised his glass with a shaking hand. "What are we then?" he asked. "Men preparing for war," I answered coldly. We moved like surgeons, precise, methodical, emotionally detached. Monday morning, I walked into First National Bank with a folder of evidence and a lawyer's letter. The manager, Mrs. Miles, had handled our accounts for 3 years. She knew us as the stable couple with joint everything and solid credit. "I need to restructure our accounts," I said calmly. "Of course, Mr. Cross. What kind of restructuring?" she asked professionally. I slid the divorce papers across her desk. "Effective immediately, I'm removing Melissa Cross from all joint accounts and credit cards. Full legal authority for asset protection during proceedings." Mrs. Miles' expression shifted from friendly to professional. She'd seen this before. "I'll need documentation," she stated. I provided everything: the filed petition, the restraining order on assets, the court authorization, all perfectly legal, all ironclad. By noon, Melissa had no access to our $38,000 savings account, our $12,000 checking account, or the credit cards with $25,000 limits. Every financial lifeline severed with a signature. Colin did the same across town. His numbers were bigger: $52,000 in savings plus college funds for the kids. Rachel's access disappeared like smoke. But we didn't stop there. I called our mortgage company, insurance provider, and investment firm. Emergency asset freezing pending divorce litigation. Melissa's name stripped from everything. The house, the cars, the retirement accounts, all protected under my sole control. "You're being very thorough," the insurance agent noted. "I'm being careful," I corrected him. That afternoon, Colin and I met with Laura Henley, the divorce attorney recommended by Victor. Her office overlooked downtown from the 20th floor, all glass and steel and expensive views. Laura was 50-something, silver-haired with the kind of smile that made opposing counsel nervous. She'd built her reputation destroying cheating spouses and protecting faithful ones. "Show me what you have," she said without preamble. I slid the flash drive across her mahogany desk. "Everything's documented." Laura plugged it into her laptop and watched in silence. Her expression never changed, not when she saw the airport photos, not during the hotel footage, not even during the final bedroom video that had broken 2 marriages. "Well," she said finally, closing the laptop, "this is what we call a slam dunk." "What can they get?" Colin asked anxiously. "From you?" "Nothing. Colorado is a no-fault state, but adultery affects asset division and custody," Laura explained with that predatory smile. "Mr. Cross, you'll keep the house, the accounts, everything. The evidence is overwhelming." "And my kids?" Colin asked, his voice cracking. "Full custody. Supervised visitation for her, maybe. No judge will give primary custody to a mother who abandons her children for threesomes in Vegas," she assured him. We signed retainers. Laura's team would file everything Wednesday morning, the day before Melissa and Rachel returned from their Miami trip. But we had one more move to make. "Don't freeze the accounts yet," I instructed the bank. Mrs. Miles looked confused. "Sir, I want them to spend freely in Vegas. Run up charges. Think they're safe," I explained with a cold smile. "Then shut it all down Thursday evening." The logic was simple. Let them dig their own graves deeper. Every expensive meal, every designer purchase, every luxury experience they charged would become evidence of wasteful spending during marital dissolution. More importantly, it would make their fall that much harder. Colin and I spent Tuesday evening at my house, sharing bourbon and grim satisfaction. The photos from Vegas kept coming. Spa treatments, shopping sprees, First-class restaurant bills, thousands of dollars they thought I'd pay forever. "You feel guilty?" Colin asked quietly. I considered the question. 3 days ago, I'd have felt terrible about what we were planning. Now? I feel nothing, I answered honestly. "Yeah, me too," he agreed. Wednesday night, we sat in my living room with our phones on the coffee table, waiting. Laura had filed all the paperwork. The financial traps were set tomorrow. Everything would explode at once. "Last chance to back out," Colin said seriously. "You having second thoughts?" I asked him. He shook his head. "Just making sure you're not." At exactly 6:47 p.m. on Thursday, the same timestamp from their first hotel room video, I sent the text to Mrs. Miles. "Execute account closure, full stop." Colin did the same with his bank. Across the country in Vegas, Melissa and Rachel were probably sitting down to another expensive dinner, laughing about their brilliant deception, planning their next moves. They had no idea the guillotine was falling. At 6:47 p.m., my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. The guillotine had fallen. The first call came at 6:53 p.m. I watched Melissa's name flash across my screen while I sipped bourbon and felt absolutely nothing. The second call came 30 seconds later, then the third. By the fourth call, Colin was grinning darkly. "Should we answer?" he asked. "Not yet. Let them panic first," I replied. Call number 13 broke my resolve. I hit accept and put it on speaker. "Nathan! Oh my God, Nathan, something's wrong with our cards!" Melissa's voice was high, frantic. "They're saying they're declined, but that's impossible. We just used them yesterday," I finished calmly. "I know." Silence. Then quietly, "Nathan?" "Yes," I responded. "What's happening?" she asked, fear creeping into her voice. "I closed the accounts, Melissa. All of them," I explained matter-of-factly. Another silence. Longer this time. I could hear Vegas noise in the background, slot machines, laughter, the kind of sounds that probably seemed fun until your world collapsed. "You... what? Why would you... Nathan, this has to be some kind of mistake," she stammered. Her voice carried that special kind of panic that comes when someone realizes their safety net is gone. That all those lies and careful planning meant nothing because they'd been caught. "Ask Damien to pay for dinner," I suggested coldly. The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "How?" she breathed. "How do you think? Private investigator, photos, videos, everything," I said conversationally, like we were discussing weather. 6 months of documentation, Melissa time-stamped, HD quality, admissible in court. "Nathan, I can explain," she started desperately. "I'm sure you can. Lawyers love explanations," I interrupted. I stood up, walked to my window, looked out at the neighborhood where we'd planned to raise kids together. "I've seen enough explanations to last a lifetime. Please, Nathan, let me come home. We can talk about this," she pleaded. "No," I said firmly. "What do you mean, no?" she asked, desperation rising. "I mean you made your choice, repeatedly." "For months," I replied, my voice staying steady though Colin could see my free hand shaking. "Now live with it. Nathan, please." She tried again. I hung up, blocked the number. Colin's phone had been buzzing throughout my conversation. He'd ignored 17 calls from Rachel. Finally, he answered. "Hello, Rachel," he said calmly. I could hear her screaming from across the room, hysterical, desperate, panicked. Colin held the phone away from his ear and waited for her to run out of breath. "You done?" he asked when the screaming stopped. More crying, pleading, bargaining. "Rachel, I have 2 questions," Colin said with deadly calm. "First, do you love our children?" Muffled response came from the phone. "Second, how long have you been f***ing a man younger than my sister?" he asked bluntly. Silence. Colin hung up, blocked her number too. We finished our drinks and went to dinner at a steakhouse downtown. Neither of us mentioned the dozen blocked calls that lit up our phones throughout the meal. Friday brought desperation. They'd found someone's phone to borrow, probably another hotel guest. Unknown number, but Melissa's voice. "Nathan, please. Damien left. He left us here. No money, no flight home, nothing. We're stranded." She sobbed into the phone. I listened to her crying and felt something that surprised me. Absolutely nothing. No sympathy. No urge to rescue. No guilt. Just cold, complete emptiness where love used to live. "You made your choices," I said simply. "I made a mistake. People make mistakes, Nathan. We can work through this," she cried. "No, we can't," I replied flatly. "I love you," she tried desperately. "No, you don't," I interrupted her. I was standing in my kitchen, looking at the spot where her phone had buzzed with that first text. "You love the security I provided. You love having someone to pay your bills while you mess around with personal trainers, but you don't love me." "That's not true," she protested. "Melissa," my voice cut through her protests like ice. "In 6 months of investigating your affair, you want to know the thing that hurt most?" She went quiet. It wasn't the intimacy. It wasn't the lies. It was watching you laugh with him in those videos. Real laughter. Joy. An expression I haven't seen on your face in 2 years. I continued. I paused. Let that sink in. You're happier with him than you ever were with me. So be happy. Figure it out yourself, I concluded. I hung up. This time I turned off my phone entirely. Saturday afternoon, Colin got a call from his mother-in-law. Robert Porter, Melissa and Rachel's father, had wired money for plane tickets home. The girls would land Sunday evening. He sounded ashamed, Colin told me. Kept apologizing. He raised them better. They chose differently, I replied. Sunday, I waited in my lawyer's office while Melissa found the divorce papers on our kitchen table. The manila envelope contained everything: petition for divorce, asset division, evidence exhibits A through Z, and one note, sign or the videos go public. My phone rang at 7:43 p.m. Did you see everything? I asked when I answered. Yes, she whispered. Any questions? I asked. How long will you hate me? She asked quietly. I don't hate you, I said honestly. I don't feel anything for you at all. She signed Monday morning. Both divorces finalized within 90 days. They finally came home, but there was nothing left for either of them. The house felt different after she moved out. Bigger somehow, cleaner, like I could finally breathe without walking through someone else's emotional fog. I changed the locks the same day she took her clothes, more out of practicality than spite. Melissa found an apartment across town, a one-bedroom in a complex that rented to people with damaged credit and questionable references. She went back to work at a retail store, the same kind of job she'd had before we met full circle, except now she was 30 and starting over instead of 24 and building up. I kept everything. The house, the savings, the retirement accounts, the cars. Colorado's adultery laws were clear. When you abandon your marriage for a documented affair, you forfeit claims to marital assets. Laura made sure the settlement was ironclad. Colin's situation resolved even faster. Full custody of both boys, child support from Rachel, division of assets that left him with their house and most savings. The children barely seemed to miss their mother. Kids are resilient. They adapted to their new normal with remarkable ease. They ask about her sometimes, Colin told me during one of our monthly dinners. But not as much as I expected. We'd started meeting regularly. Two men who'd survived the same shipwreck, helping each other navigate the aftermath. Not friendship exactly, but understanding shared experience that couldn't be explained to people who hadn't lived it. The job offer came in October. Denver. Financial consulting firm, 40% salary increase, equity partnership track, mountains instead of plains, fresh start instead of familiar reminders. I accepted without hesitation. The house sold within 2 weeks. Apparently, my neighborhood had become hot property. I made $60,000 more than I'd paid, enough to buy something nice in Colorado without a mortgage. Packing was easier than expected. 6 years of marriage fit into surprisingly few boxes once you removed everything that belonged to someone else. Books, clothes, tools, a few pieces of furniture I actually liked. The rest went to charity or the dumpster. I left town on a Tuesday in November, driving west through flat Kansas toward the mountains. No goodbye parties, no farewell dinners. Just me, my truck, and a trailer full of everything that mattered. The Denver apartment was perfect. High floor, mountain views, space for exactly one person who didn't need to accommodate anyone else's preferences. Clean lines, minimal furniture, windows that let in light without filtering through someone else's emotional darkness. I bought a mountain bike. Started hiking on weekends. Discovered I actually enjoyed cooking when I could make what I wanted without worrying about someone else's dietary restrictions or social media presentations. Work was good, challenging, profitable, respected. I threw myself into it without guilt about neglecting anyone at home. No one needed me to leave early for dinner parties or anniversary celebrations or couples counseling sessions. Freedom, I learned, was a quiet thing. Colin visited twice that first winter. We'd ski during the day, drink bourbon at night, talk about everything except our ex-wives. His boys were thriving, better grades, fewer behavioral problems, genuine smiles when they talked about their future. "Kids know," he said during his second visit. "They know when their home is stable versus chaotic." Spring brought news. Melissa had been fired from the retail job. Attendance problems. She'd moved back in with her parents. Rachel had fared worse. DUI arrest, lost her part-time job, supervised visitation reduced to once monthly. I felt nothing hearing these updates. Their consequences belonged to them now, just as my peace belonged to me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was free.